Somebody's undefeated. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Chaos Cock. It's week 2. And let's jump right into this sumbitch this week. We're going to dive right in here. We're going to go with the first matchup of the week, which was Hispanic Panic Matt Soto taking on Zielinski's Auto Parts in Frank Bucco. Both these guys came in at 1-0. Matt does get the win here by about 20 points over Frank. Great performance from Patrick Mahomes. The combination of Thielen, Hilton, and Kupp gave him 35 plus. Mark Andrews might be the most surprising tight end in football this year. He's already got over 200 yards. He's scored 20 plus each of the first 2 weeks, and he sits on Soto's team, giving him 22 plus this week. Nothing to really write home about on his bench because his running backs were Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. I don't think you're putting Royce Freeman up against the Chicago defense in that lineup over those two guys. But going forward, we'll see how Soto does here as he improves to 2-0. For Frank, it was a disappointing week from Kirk Cousins, who only put up 8.5 points. His wide receiving core is where it was at, though. Julio Jones, Terry McLaurin, and Marquise Brown combined for 48.5 points. That will absolutely get shit done. Running backs, less so. 24.2 from Derrick Henry and James White. Josh Jacobs gives him 99 rushing yards, so unfortunately he only gets the 9.9 rather than the full 15 points for a 100-yard rusher. You add in that 5 points, and, it doesn't change the outcome of the matchup, but it's close. It's a hell of a lot closer. It gets Frank within 15 points. He can point the finger. At the end of the day, Frank had a decent output. It just wasn't. You don't see enough guys scoring more than 10 points. Everybody on his roster was between, the vast majority of guys on his roster were between 8 and 9 points. And, Josh Jacobs, 9.9. Ertz, 9.2. White, 8.9. Brown, 8.6. Cousins, 8.37. That'll get it done some weeks, but not every week. And this is a case where this is not one of those weeks. Soto does drop the Jets defense. His backup defense, he drops for Raheem Mostert, who had a good game in San Francisco and could see a lot more playing time going forward with Matt Breida, splitting time with Matt Breida, while Tevin Coleman is on the injured list. We'll see what happens next week with those guys, but for Soto, he captures the number 1 overall spot right now and leads the Miller division by a game over everybody else. The second matchup I'll highlight here is going to be Steve Gallo, who was 1-0 going up against Lil C is not happy Adam Kirby, who was 0-1. And Kirby falls again to 0-2. This is the guy who finished last in the league last year. Loses Ben Roethlisberger for the season this week. And I started talking to Adam a lot. I was like, I've got a couple of quarterbacks you might be interested in. Going to need to discuss some things. But it looks like he went ahead and grabbed Andy Dalton, who's going to be his quarterback going forward. We'll see if that pays off for him. Dalton isn't exactly what I would call a top tier or even a top 12 quarterback. Probably not even top 15. We'll see if the rest of this roster is able to carry him. But when you lose Big Ben, Juju takes a big hit. And since Juju was his second round pick after Nick Chubb, it's kind of a domino effect for this roster, and it could certainly prove to be a disappointing season for him yet again. He does get 39 points out of his wide receiving core of Juju, Brandon Cooks, and Tyler Boyd, which is good. The running backs put up over 20 combined with Nick Chubb and Devontae Freeman. It's just the rest of his roster that combined, the tight end, the flex, the defense, and kicker, those 4 positions combined put up only 4.9 points. That is incredibly rough to see, especially Alshon Jeffrey, who goes down with, a groin injury or a calf injury or something. That could linger for many, many weeks, and that's not something you want to see. With Gallo, he gets a good performance out of Travis Kelce. The rest is basically a mediocre match, but it's weeks like this that you want to get the win, because when your team suffers, if your opponent can have a worse week and you pick up a W in a shit matchup, I will take that 100 times out of 100. You know, if I get, less than 10 points from everybody except Travis Kelce and Cam Newton, and I still win, I'll take it. Gallo goes to 2-0. He takes the number one spot in the Coors division. And despite, a really poor output this week, he's sitting on top. The next matchup I want to highlight is the New England Crackers, this guy, who took on the Eater of Worlds, Pete Langworth. Pete put up 90 points. That is not going to get it done in this league, sir. I'd get a 42-point win. Great game from Matt Ryan. Solid game from Kenny Galladay. Fantastic game from Saquon Barkley. This team put up 23 points total from my wide receivers of Evans, Brown, and Watkins. Good performance from my kicker and defense, who put up 16 combined. Other than John Ross and Vance McDonald and maybe James Conner, Pete doesn't get a very good week. Nobody on his team scores more than 10 points other than those three guys I mentioned. He does leave Lamar Jackson on the bench, I left Lamar Jackson on the bench, who scored 10 points more than my starting quarterback, Matt Ryan. At the end of the day, that doesn't much matter. Robbie Anderson put up 8.1 on Pete's bench. Should have been playing him for Jarvis Landry, but I could see the idea behind, Cleveland's offense going to Landry more than the Jets defense going to Robbie Anderson. I made a bunch of moves this week. I picked up Kyler Murray and Josh Allen to try to bolster my quarterback situation. Guys, for the Drew Brees owner, for Adam, who I know was the Ben Roethlisberger owner, I've got quarterbacks. I got 4 of them now. They're all serviceable. Let's make a deal here. I ended up dropping Dante Pettis and Houston's defense to pick up Buffalo's defense. At the end of the day, it's not. Those aren't catastrophic, life-changing moves. We'll move on to the Dilldozer, Darren Piatkowski, taking on Callahan Auto Parts, Dave Langworth. Dave comes in 0-1. Darren comes in 0-1. Dave gets a big win here. Gets a 29-point win over Darren. Dak Prescott led the way with almost 31 points. This is the type of week you like to see in this league. 10 plus points from every one of his wide receivers. They combined for 34 points of Amari Cooper, Hardman, and Chark Jr. The running backs, little less, but still decent. 22.5 points combined from David Johnson and Peyton Barber. And the defense puts up 37 against Miami. The shutout, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks. Just a ridiculous week from the New England defense. And that's really the difference here. Dave getting a 29-point win, 37 points out of the defense. Even if that defense puts up 8, Dave loses. So, you take that every single week. And if that's going to be the top defense in the league, if they're going to I don't foresee them putting up that kind of production every week. But if they put up, decent production, 12, 13, 14 points every week, that's just another really good starter that's in that lineup for Dave. For Darren, it's disappointing to see that that Russell Wilson put up almost 30 points on his bench while Carson Wentz put up half that. He gets nothing from O.J. Howard at the tight end position. His running backs put up 20 and gets 26 from Aaron Jones in the flex position. That's good. The 31 points from Lockett, Ridley, and Valdez-Scantling, really solid. Though you'd want more from your number 3 wide receiver. DK Metcalf was on the bench, put up 12 plus. That might have been the guy you wanted to play there. We'll see going forward if Darren can turn this thing around. He falls to 10th and then last place in the Coors division. Dave is right there behind Soto in the Miller division. We move on to the Escalator, Mike Morris, who has now changed his team again, taking on the latter, Matthew Trousdale. Matthew ends up getting a loss here. Again, he's the Drew Brees owner, so Brees is down for 6 to 8 weeks. Matthew, come get a quarterback, bro. You didn't make a roster move this week. You may as well try to do something. I have Kyler Murray you can pair with Larry Fitzgerald, who gave you a good week. Austin Eckler was the only other player to score more than 10 points, not named Justin Tucker. The rest of the roster was pretty weak. And when you factor in the fact that he had Marquise Goodwin on the bench for almost 14 points, it's difficult to look at that roster and say, I could have done a lot more there. For Morris, great performance from Tom Brady. The wide receivers put up 19, almost 20 points from Edelman, Robinson, and Tyrell Williams. The problem is he left Odell Beckham on the bench and he scored 27 plus. Why on earth would you draft Odell Beckham in the second round, the first pick in the second round, 13th overall, and leave him on the bench at week 2? Morris, what are you doing? Are you trying to lose this? Add in the fact that Emmanuel Sanders put up 17 plus on the bench, and this matchup could have been a lot more one-sided. Gurley and Michelle put up 25 plus. He does get a 0 from Deshaun Jackson. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a win in the column for Morris. He moves to 1-1. Matthew is also 1-1. These guys are all in the Miller division. We'll see what happens with that division going forward. We'll move on to the judicial branch. Mike Schumann, who took on Danny's groovy team. Both these guys came in at 0-1. Schumann gets the win here, and he really needed it. It was a pretty close matchup. Only 9 points separated these teams. And if Danny's going to point the finger at somebody, he's got to point it right at David Njoku, who gave him absolutely nothing. Evan Ingram only gave him less than 5. Dante Moncrief gave him nothing. Those 3 positions are really the difference in this 9-point loss. If he can get 4 points from Moncrief and Njoku and another point out of Ingram, he gets the win here. For Schumann, good week from Baker Mayfield, great week from Zeke Elliott, really great week from Chris Godwin. Those 3 guys, along with Le'Veon Bell, are really going to carry this team. He does leave Jimmy Garoppolo's 26 points on the bench, but I don't know that you're benching him for Mayfield against the Jets. Mike moves to 1-1. He is also sitting in the middle of the Coors division. The unfortunate part for Danny is that he's at the bottom of the Budweiser division, now 2 games back of this guy. Guys, short show this week. Less than 15 minutes. I need guests. I need people to talk to me. Come. Talk to me about football. Let's make this show better than just me talking to a fucking camera for 15 minutes. Oh.
And I'm still undefeated, bitches. I'm gonna win my 3rd title.